Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Back underway in towards map number 2, and well, safe to say that for Born in Mongolia, they need a resurgence of the ages. Their map not going in their favour, and not a bad start as 9-10 deletes Miami. Never say never's map pick of Inferno. Let's see how this one plays out. Already the opening kill for the CT side, I imagine, holding from balcony, taking a bit of damage, taking a bit of pressure, gonna fall off, but it's Ruben for a 3k. Hang on a second, this has changed hands. What was a brilliant start is looking like it might be a bit of a tough finish. A Laban spray from 9-10. Ruben gifted a freebie. He will forward to 1 versus 3 retake, and for Imagine, a tall order above him.
Welp. Yeah, that didn't necessarily go as expected. And I just want to kind of bring it back. So bearing in mind that it was actually Born in Mongolia who won the first pistol on the previous map. And I think they won the second pistol as well. But here we're seeing a little bit of a change. It's going to be Never Say Never winning that very first pistol out. They get that bomb down, obviously, and they win out the entire round. They eliminate the entirety of Born in Mongolia. All things considered, not a bad start. Now the question is going to be, how do Born in Mongolia respond? We have seen, previously where teams will buy next to absolutely nothing to make sure that they have a little bit into the next round, particularly because they know CT economy can be difficult to navigate. But it's going to be Imagine bringing out the Scout. He had a slightly quiet game in the first map, so hopefully he can pick it up here a bit.
Yeah, that's the question. Well, already, I think we may. But just lost one over towards the start of Never Say Never. Not exactly what they were looking for. Potentially might be problems with Miami once again, but at the very least, risk going 1-for-1. Numbers still, of course, favour Born in Mongolia. I think it's probably because of that slight disconnect. Not exactly the time for it, especially when things are looking so good for you, but Veneration has to come alive. AK collected in the hands of 9-10. You're going to play a little bit more passive. They don't come forward. Damage dealt, but not really too much that it will lead to be anything problematic. Bomb is still dropped over towards ramp as well, and the Molotov will force Veneration to a slightly more passive position. That's an unfortunate time for Miami to drop out of the server, because now things are looking just a little bit uncomfortable for Never Say Never. They're lacking in the man disadvantage. An AK-47 dropped across. It makes it very doable for Born in Mongolia.
I think very is probably generous. We know what they can do, what they're capable of with Deagles, so maybe they can get a couple more kills out of this, but Never Say Never, definitely still in the driving seat here, and especially with the, they've got a little bit of utility still left available to them to get in onto this side. It's going to have to be a huge play from Born in Mongolia. Okay, that'll do it.
That'll do it. Double going forward for 9-10. He will be deleted by Ruben. Still only the 1 versus 3 though. And this is now the uncomfortable situation, trying to get that bomb down, given the ruse of the aggressive play, but he gives away his own position. He's not sticking that plant. Going to go for a slightly more elevated angle, which will net him a kill. Re-smoking towards the front side of the site. 8 seconds left to work. We're going to tap it once further, trying to be denied through the smoke. 4 seconds, no time to plant. And now that's the uncomfortable phase where they lose off the back of that clock. It became their best friend to their worst enemy. And once again, I have to reiterate that it had to be, with Miami dropping out the server at the worst possible time. It gives Born in Mongolia their first round of the board. A slight little tech pause here as we just make sure everything's okay on his side, but that's a very unfortunate time to do so.
And we're going to throw it to a quick break as we try and figure out what the issue is, guys. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a sec.
Well, we said it would only be a short tech break, and that's exactly what it was. Everything seems to be sorted out now, and of course, that can be said. With the aggressive push down B, Ruben going to find one of his own trades. Azteca, that's kind of rifles collected. The question is, can they deny the MP9 at close range? Vayne going to only take a little bit of that top B control. There's only 2 remaining for the T side of Never Say Never, and the bomb dropped and I left an opportune position. And with 2 players stacked here, this should be comfortable control, and that's exactly what it is. Vayne going to find one of his own. Staying alive though, Ruben, not for much longer. Vayne makes it a double, and that is a double for Born in Mongolia. 2 consecutive rounds for them. They take a lead.
3 HP in a dream, but he brings it home quite nicely. And so we didn't really get a chance to talk about that previous round. So if we look, go back to that a little bit. It was a pretty ridiculous way for Born in Mongolia to win out that round. They do really well to kind of run out the clock there. Never say never. Just not able to kind of bring it back in their favor. Again, we spoke about these slight misplays that can happen, but it's Born in Mongolia who are bringing things back in their favor. And as we said previously, they need to have or create quite a buffer here on the CT side.
High range, Azteca, 1, 2, looking for 3 as well. Information spotted, and he'll find it with ease. Imagine goes in for support. It's going to find a kill of his own. Risk will be in for a consolation, but it's only that. 3 rounds, 2-round lead. And I still have to reiterate that it's off the back of that force by win for Born in Mongolia. With Miami dropping out, that tech issue more or less relinquished the lead that Never Say Never were going to find.
This is the perfect opportunity for Never Say Never to come back, though. Now that they actually have some cash in the bank, they've got weapons in their hands. But I want to see maybe slightly less crazy aggression from them. No, it looks like we're just going to keep going on with that aggressive play. And again, it's going to be the hit towards the A side.
Oh, that spray's good, though. Azteca and Imagine 1 apiece. Their aggressive CT starts to be working oh so well for them. And Horatio will at least find one of his own. He replies on towards Azteca, who was one of the standout names in towards our previous map. But Flame comes in for support. Bomb drop. An isolated fight with the T side leaves that bomb in a less than adequate position. And now, of course, less than adequate stance for the one remaining player. That Ruben will find himself 1, but in a 1 versus 3, it's safe to say this is a tough affair.
I mean, you talk about isolation, right? And I think that is my biggest criticism as they made their way up to top mid, that bracket position, because we see some of that util come out, but we don't really see any like smokes to block off some of those angles. They kind of, okay, they swing together, each checking a different angle, so you kind of hope that they're going to make something happen there, but they run straight into a Molotov and they haven't blocked off any of those angles, so it's just going to be them getting sprayed down out in the open. Slight thing, right? But it makes such a huge difference. And at that point, Born in Mongolia have completely given themselves control of the round. So yeah, okay, Never Say Never. We're going to swap things up here once again. It seems to be like a BA type vibe from this team. Oh, what is that? Such an early kill. Okay, the Born in Mongolia aggression that didn't work out on Dust 2, putting up numbers here on Inferno.
Yeah, it's a completely different situation. They're kind of starting to understand that by closing out a lot of that map control, they garner all the space and the wealth of understanding how this round is going to be played out. Veneration, good for 1, but only. And same can be said for 9-10. Traded out immediately is not exactly what they were looking for. It's 1 versus 1. AK's collected as well. He's being hunted from behind. I don't think he has any sort of idea. The bomb will be planted. And I should open plant at that. But how did the post bomb get set up? And we'll even expect the flank coming forward because Flame is in a nice and aggressive position. The rotation come forward through Banana. Was lacking HP, only 57 to work with. Not exactly where you want to be. He knows, though, that rotation's come forward from B. Surely now, Flame has to expect that Coffin's play coming forward. In towards New Box, Nade will come in. Won't really cause too much of a problem. Trying to spot the cross on towards the site, and Flame reads it like a book. So well played from him. Smoke on towards the bomb, swinging in front of the smoke and clearing Coffins. All angles covered, and after the round in favour, Born in Mongolia make it a 5-1 scoreline, and a 4-round lead looking very healthy.
You gotta hand it to Never Say Never for being able to bring it back so well towards, it was from the start of the round, kind of towards the late game there. And for them to have brought it down to a 1 versus 1, knowing they came into that round with very, very little. They kept it quite expensive, but unfortunately not quite enough to bring the round back in their favor. And again, it's coming down to these slight misplays. Born in Mongolia giving over a few more kills than what I think they would have liked to with that early aggression. It does net them early kills, but it gets traded out quite quickly.
1 for 1. Much better than what we've seen at the start of Never Say Never, where they've been, safe to say, losing the considerable amount of advantage and the map control too, and because of it, making each and every execute all the more tougher. This time they play a slightly more passive angle. They give up a lot of space over towards Born in Mongolia, and they're hoping to try and punish the CT side because of their aggression that we have seen, ever prevalent now. With a 4-round lead, Born in Mongolia are going to do exactly the same. Going to take a step away and just make that slightly more passive choice to just fall back.
This is a different look from Never Say Never, but I like it. You know, they get an early kill off there, but obviously it is a trade. And now they're kind of forced into a more passive position, but they've pulled rotations over towards A, and now B is relatively empty. A little bit of utility should give the info across, so Born in Mongolia should be able to make that rotation in, fairly decent timing, but Never Say Never as quick as they are, that should get them on two sides.
1-for-1 once again. Vayne only able to find that first, but they all coming alive at risk. Imagine rotating back over towards Coffins, but he won't be able to deny that plant coming forward. But he will be able to deny the aggression with a beautiful flick on towards Ruben. This is now starting to look all the dicier once again for Never Say Never, as they're in a very precarious spot. Array swing going to come forward. Missed shot from Risk gives away his position. Second time of asking, not going to be able to connect either. In comes the utility, third time. Not the charm, and this is now starting to become very uncomfortable in this hold. Trying to deny that control going forward. Missed shots are becoming a real problem, but at least Veneration good for one, but it's only that. 9-10 with a double swing. Just like that, it should be a 6th run on the board. Just enough time for that defuse to come forward. That's a 6-1 lead. This has been not the start we were hoping for Never Say Never.
I think it's somewhat to be expected, somewhat, given that they are on the T side, and it can be a little bit more difficult to kind of gain control when you are, actively trying to mount an attack, right? That's, most of the maps do lend themselves to a more CT-sided position. But you're right, when we think about Dust 2 and how things went on that map, it was the complete opposite. That is also a map that tends to lend itself to the CT-sided position, but it was both of these teams on their T sides where they really seemed to shine, really seemed to step up. And I also find it very interesting, we bear in mind that this was Never Say Never's map pick, and Never Say Never won Born in Mongolia's map pick on Dust 2, and here on Inferno, it's Born in Mongolia, who seem to be getting a little bit of a runaway lead for themselves. Never Say Never definitely not going to be happy with that. They do have a ton of cash in the bank, though, so this next round could be the great equalizer, although I think we might have a slight tech issue again here. So, we've got a slightly longer tech pause coming through here, folks. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. Grab a drink, and we'll return once things are sorted.
There we go. Finally, tech issues are hopefully gone for the remainder of the series. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, round number 8 is where we're at. 6-1 lead for Born in Mongolia. And I think for Never Say Never, not only got the tech woes, but the woes of a 5-round deficit.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of space that needs to be reclaimed here in terms of the scoreline for this Never Say Never squad, and they've been really struggling to deal with this early round aggression from Born in Mongolia, which surprisingly was something they were doing well handling on the previous map.
What about opener, though? Veneration, alongside Miami, will find that HE in their favour. On with Vayne, who's been quite an aggro player in towards that of... Hang on a second, G7H just drops Ruben. That's an important factor in terms of now the numbers are level. This becomes dicey. Nighttime going to be caught off guard by his own flashbang as Tekka flashes his teammates. Miami finds the kills back in favour of the T side, and Smoke has to come in towards CT to deny his control. Orb goes for the no-scope, not going to quite connect. The rotation coming back forward, and a slight gap in that smoke gives the Orb a lot to work with. Same can't be said for Flames, as he's on 6 points of HP, and the bomb to be planted momentarily. In the Flames, Risk will get it down. And he'll post up in towards that dark. Holding from Pillar. On the cross as well, gets caught. Flame, it's a free kill for him. In towards that coffin, spotting out one more as well. But Miami will be able to trade him out. At least all down to Azteca. 39 points of HP in a 1 versus 2 to deny. And this could finally be the start of a catalyst of success for the T side. Will they even expect the aggression coming forward? Azteca trying to clear. Makes his way forward. Miami will drop him out. 6-2, 4-round deficits, and finally a little bit of a better start from Never Say Never.
Yeah, Miami somehow getting that kill while crouched down and just hiding. A little bit unfortunate there for Born in Mongolia. And I'm wondering now, because it seems like maybe Never Say Never were the team with the tech issues. And, you know, maybe now that if it is sorted out, hopefully it is, maybe that plays into it a little bit. And I suppose it might just be too early to tell. We'll find out as the game goes on. But this was a much better round from them. They deal with that aggression that little bit better. They do find themselves a little off balance for a lot of that round. But the important part is how they're able to stabilize, right? I mean, that's such an important thing for any team to be able to do here. And as they slowly start to climb their way back into it, we're going to have Risk back in with the AWP. We saw that on Dust 2, and it worked out quite nicely for him as well. A couple of rounds there where he came up huge. A few rounds where he was a bit quiet. But, you know, coming up and getting those high impact frags when you need to, that's going to be the important part here. As they also find Born in Mongolia down onto a very unfortunate buy. Still have the AWP, but not much else to back that up.
Flame going aggressive, though. We've already mentioned about this CT aggression being quite a prevalent factor, and this is what we're seeing now. The only thing is that G7H is all too aware. Knows what he can expect from the CT side, and he's going to be able to find an opener. Will he make it 2? Yes, he will. Flame will follow suit. That's a double opener for Never Say Never. Over the very lackluster buys you mentioned of Born in Mongolia, they're definitely being tested now. Surely a rotation call will be made over towards the A side. The AWP of Imagine, I think, for the most part, will be untested towards this round, and probably just going to go for an early save call, especially if long control gets opened up by the T side. That's what they're looking for. Azteca going to fall. Tries to play anti-flash. Doesn't work in his favour. Vayne BNI will find at least one. Will he find any more? No. Risk deletes. And Imagine now all alone in a 1 versus 4. Surely just a save call.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he didn't even leave the B side. You know, you lose 2 players and he's like, all right, I'm just going to stay here, I guess. There's no point in trying to aggress that. Potential for the hunt down. Takes a bit. Oh, there we go. Nicely manages to survive there, but now his position is known. He has to be very careful. And it looks like he's running straight into someone. Holding on to this AWP is going to be monumental for Born in Mongolia if they want to be able to do anything in the next round. Let's see if we can get another kill here. Make it expensive as Ruben is trying to drop off the box. This is fantastic. Imagine if you'd been with your team, who knows what you might have accomplished. But unfortunately, the round is going to go in favor of Never Say Never, an important round for them. And, you know, we spoke about the early aggression from Born in Mongolia. And, okay, yes, they came into this round on a very unfortunate buy. So we weren't expecting them to come out on top of it. And they kind of just run into Never Say Never's crosshairs a little bit there. And, you know, we're not expecting them to win out those battles. They don't really have the weaponry to do so. But somehow Imagine keeps it very, very expensive. Never Say Never, while they're happy they did win out the round, I'm not too sure they're happy with how the end of that round played out and how many guns they had to give over.
It's a very kind of unfortunate situation for Never Say Never, because the idea behind hunting an orb is very, very smart, but the execution was terrible. I mean, the fact that Imagine's able to find 3 kills there when he basically only should have been able to get away with one is a very big misplay. Slight bit of a stack up towards the A side. We see two players here posted up. And of course, unfortunately for them, there's nothing really for them to work with here. As the aggression up towards top banana should warrant never say never that B site momentarily. G8 once again holding for the aggression. He did it once before, netted himself 2 kills. He's looking to do one better in towards round number 10. But a third round for the T side is the real positive sign. They started to chip away that deficit, which was looking problematic, it's safe to say.
For anyone who's confused, obviously Aristo was having some issues, so that's probably why his scoreline isn't as good as it could have been. And of course, we had to have some resets there. So don't stress yourselves too much about that one. The important thing here, of course, is that Never Say Never are again making their way in onto the site very, very handedly. Because, as we said, Born in Mongolia, after forcing up in the previous round, weren't going to have too much into this one. And that's why it was so important to hold on to the AWP, which they're going to have to... Oh, I was going to say he's going to try and hold on to it for another round, but they're so pincered in here. I mean, it's near impossible.
Oh, not a bad shot though. Gonna be looking for one. No skill weren't quite connected. This time, Imagine Zorp doesn't get brought in towards our next round number 11. But at least he finds a kill once again. I mean, what was a very slow map number 1 for Imagine was problematic, wasn't it? We kind of mentioned the AWP not finding any sort of form, any sort of security. This is already significantly better from him. He's been one of the shining lights of this Born in Mongolia side. But that's still a consecutive round of the ball for Never Say Never. Now, full buy coming out for the CT side, but that glass floor is still very prevalent. Lose this round, it's back to a double eco, and more or less giving up that lead over to Never Say Never.
And they really can't afford to at this point. I mean, Never Say Never have been on a little bit of a tear here. Oh, missed the shot. That's unfortunate, but a little bit of information garnered for both sides here. They know where that AWP is, so they know not to peek out too aggressively there. So a little bit of utility to make some noise, but it's the banana push that seems to be the play.
Veneration. Gonna find the first as well. Vane falling's important. Numbers now favouring the C side, and so does the trade game as well. As they can push their way up towards that top B area. But the tempo slowed right down. 1 minute 10 on the clock. And they're not going to make too much of an overzealous push. They're just going to hold down the fort, swap out the weapons. Ruben going to pick up the AWP, abided by Bogdan's law. Flame looking like he wants to go aggressive. Information spotted. And off the back of it, just going to drop a smoke. Doesn't want to take that fight, and rightfully so.
That's a fight worth taking, and unfortunately... doesn't really go the way it was intended. Imagine, look at this deep angle he's holding with 5 HP. No fear as he wins the trade. But unfortunately, yeah, eventually that 5 HP is going to dissipate.
And of course, I think so. The players, G7H finding one in transition. And this now gives them a complete free path, may I say, over towards the A sites. Bomb can be rotated. He's being hunted though. Azteca knows exactly what he's looking for. He might potentially be able to find one in transition. As Azteca knife out, making his way forward. It's a foot race over towards the A site, but they will be able to get that bomb planted safely, securely. I think the sound cue has been made all too well as bomb planted, post-plant setup, open, make A47 to work with. And they're also aware of that long control, but they don't even consider that the short aggression could have come through so early. We'll even spot it out G78 in a nice passive position, just holding for the bomb. As Azteca crosses, he'll be spotted out surely. It's all a slow take, looking for it, making their way back in towards Pit, spotting out one. We'll find it. Will he all be able to deliver? No, he won't. Azteca, what a clutch that is. Played it to perfection, triggered the spin of the highest regard.
I mean, you say that, like, the sound cue has probably given him away, but they're still watching for long. And that, like, the position that's being held in Pit is just pixels off where they can't see him coming from the short play. So they have no idea that he's going to be sneaking around the back. And then, okay, it was very possible that he dies to the AWP in that, like, because he has to come back around. And at that point, the rotation has already happened from Risk, so he's watching that angle. But somehow he wins it out. I mean, that's massive for Born in Mongolia. And it does, in fact, obviously now give them a round back over. They had been looking a little bit shaky leading up to that round, but it was a necessary win for them, especially in terms of their econ, because I mean, even after winning that round, they're still not up to full rifles. It's still not a perfect buy, but they're on the right track again.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really unfortunate round to lose, and one which, whenever say never, in that situation, they really shouldn't have. A 1 versus 2, the crossfire set up, and they don't even expect that short aggression to be so kind of advanced already, but credit where credit's due. We mentioned Azteca being one of the standout names of Born in Mongolia, and that's exactly what he can bring to the table, and he does it excellently. Plays time into perfection, the trigger discipline perfect, gains all the information he needs, and in a 1 versus 2, makes it look easy. Now, a minute left on the clock. And Never Say Never once again taking that early top mid control and top B as well. So it gives them at least a couple of options to work with here. And it's all depending on the first kill. And there it is. Flashing towards top B as well was still Aristo looking for a bit of an entry in that side. But he can hold on the forward and he can bait a rotation back over as they commit over towards that A site. And rightfully so, as Imaginal fall to. Risk finding one more. In comes the utility and Flame left all alone. Isolated. Will find himself one look to make it two, which he does brilliantly. Now there's a wealth of experience to work with. And at least a bit of an opening on towards the side, because G7H can't make the job silently.
Bomb's making its way over towards B, and B is like completely defended, so that's bomb down. And G7H has been really good for this team, you know, throughout this map at the very least. Finds himself in a rough spot. But it looks like he's actually going to try and push this. I mean, both of these two players on ridiculous... No. Okay, he pulls back. Back. It's probably the best idea to have here. Yeah. Just hold on to the gun you have available. And, oh, there you go. Pick up the AWP, in fact, and have that ready for you into the next round. I like the fact that Born in Mongolia play a slightly less overly aggressive style than what we've seen previously, right? But I think that there needs to be a little bit more of a balancing act, right? So you want to have a little bit of proactivity without being massively over aggressive, because in that round they play super passive. They give up so much map control within a few seconds. Never Say Never, as you said, had taken control of both top mid and top banana. And how do Born in Mongolia respond to that at that point? They find themselves a little bit kind of pincered, pushed back, all of their space taken away. Now, they do manage to come out on top of that one off of some really solid plays over on the B side, but it can be difficult to stabilize at that point. So hopefully we can see a little bit more of a balance between having that proactive play and the slightly more passive plays.
True. Very true as we stand. I mean, already guaranteeing a lead for Born in Mongolia. This is exactly what we saw from them in map number 1, where it's a 9-6 finish that way out, and a very good first half was great, but they still failed to convert that one when they really should have. What about start though? 9-10 going to find one. Opening things up with the MP9, just going aggressive. We already spoke about the CT aggression, we know so good, but this time he gets punished. That's 2 kills going the way of Never Say Never. 1 for Miami, 1 for Veneration. And this is now becoming a little bit uncomfortable. They're going to pull that rotation back over towards that B site. We'll drop a bit of utility in towards top B as well. And that may actually cause quite a significant amount of damage. Miami dropped to 6 points of HP. Needs to be careful. I'm going to abide by Bogdan's law, pick up that AWP as a second falls back over towards Coffins. And it's looking like that rotation of Flames going to come over towards that B site because they're expecting a B pop here.
Still some decent map control though, which I quite like. Stay a little bit spread out. Don't like overcommit to something before you have a realistic idea of, you know, what the next play is going to be. And some decent angles held here. So wherever it is that Never Say Never decide to push in from, that information is going to be able to be relayed across relatively quickly. The one angle that I'm a little uncertain of is, of course, Flames. Oh, there we go. He's going to be able to spot that out now. Is the rotation going to come through? They're going to wait to see if he can survive here before pulling that across.
There we go, Miami with the AWP. Going to find the first. Numbers now playing the T side, but a lot to do and not a lot to work with. Ruben in for the trade. Leaves all down to 1 man. Azteca clutched it out to the 1 versus 2 in the round prior. Can he step up again towards round number 13 to deny a 5th for Never Say Never? A similar post blind set up. 2 players in towards that a big pit. The AWP spotted out. That's Azteca making his way in a similar parting. Oh. Once again, missed AWP shot. Uncharacteristic missed AWP shot as well compared to the 2 he's found already. But Miami needs to be careful. Going to go aggressive this time. Going to be punished. But surely he doesn't expect Ruben in his time and he won't. Ruben swings, doesn't play passive and nets himself a kill. And of course, let's Never Say Never. A 5th round on the board.
I'm surprised that he didn't expect that second player to be in pit. I think I would have thought that he had spotted him out. There's like that slight gap between the hay bales and the wall where I'd kind of spotted it, but maybe it's an FOV thing. I'm not 100% sure. But he doesn't see that second player, which is unfortunate because he's expecting the exact same crossfire that he saw a few rounds back, and well, he gets punished for it. That's Born in Mongolia getting themselves a little bit more on the board here. Look at this, the aggression again. Okay, I know they're on like a way lower buy, so you're not expecting them to come out on top of it, but he just like dry peeks straight into it.
And with the very limited buy that Born in Mongolia have got left to work with, I think it's safe to say this is going to be only go one way. 1 versus 5. It's Vayne, all alone, with a Mag 7. Now, not the best of weapons, but can net a consolation kill here or there, especially if they make their way towards long. They're going to be met with a shotgun to the face if he can connect. The question of can he? No, it's the answer. Flawless round, but never say never in the penultimate round as they make it an 8-6 so far. 8-7 at the half would actually be a very good resurgence, considering, you know, we're looking towards earlier. It was 6-1 at one point.
And bearing in mind that Born in Mongolia forced into that previous round, so in this round, the last round in the half, they got nothing. And this is not the first time that we've seen Born in Mongolia in this exact position, where they've forced up in the round before what is potentially the last round, and they find themselves with nothing to work with. This should be a clean sweep for Never Say Never. Should be.
Should be.
Never
Precious
say never.
Willets. Yeah, exactly. The Eagles. Upgraded pistols, you know, you got 3 Deags, 157. Not a bad start. They're going to make things level. Has taken this damage, but of course, at the very least, picking himself up an AK-47 isn't the worst of scenarios for them to be in. And a 5-7 could cause further problems over towards this B site. It's a 2-2 split, but they're going to rotate back over towards B and go for the gamble stack, and that's the wrong call, because as we stand, it looks like the T-Star Never Say Never making their way towards A.
A is being held by the 1 AK here, was handed over to Flame. Flame is expecting potentially something to come through here. Wins the first battle though, but
That's
is
it.
instantly traded out.
Yeah, now this becomes difficult to say the least in terms of the retake. Of course, you look at the T side. They've got the site. They've got the utility to work with as well. Miami does need to be careful. He's in no man's land looking all over the shop, but it's Azteca with an Eagle to come alive. Smoking to the front side of the site. All plot for cold zero box. Numbers favour the T side. A CT side, may I say. And they still do. 9-10 going to find one more. Miami to drop off over in towards shorts. Needs to be careful, but surely a swing here. Found a flash to work with. Doesn't even opt to use it though. Low HP left, and Azteca, he's just going to try and play the slightly more passive position. Understands that most likely case is coming from long, and Azteca has to hit an unreal shot to the 9, but it's not going to be the case. Miami clutch that one out at the half, 8-7. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you after the break. Well, hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Half number 2. 8-7 half in favour of Born in Mongolia. As even as it can get, the only thing is, well, how do things start out here? Not about pistol round to kickstart. Risk going to find the first. Second important kill, falling immediately, but still the aggression seems to be the priority. They're making their way in towards Apps, dropping in towards Boiler as well. Has Vayne taken a little bit of a slightly more aggressive stance? Slowing down that tempo, but they're aggressing over towards the A side now. Vayne leading the charge. Aristo spotting the first drop in. Veneration trying to do what he can. It's only a 1-for-1 as Flame finds 2. Now they open up the sides. Numbers level, and this now becomes all the more uncomfortable. Dicey, to say the least, in the host plant position. And a 3 versus 3 in this retake makes it tough. As Never Say Never leading the charge, but loser Miami makes it tough. 3 versus 2, and Sam, I think this one is going to become another round in favour of Born in Mongolia, where a strong pistol round nets them some success, or so I say. Risk good for one. Low HP as well on towards Flame could lead some positives coming out from it, but the bomb so far takes no kit to work with. That's the round. 9-7. And just like that, the T-side take a 2-round lead.
Yeah, pistol rounds, we know they can be kind of flip-floppy, kind of rough to come out on top of. If I'm not wrong in saying it was Never Say Never that won the first pistol round, and then Born in Mongolia started to kind of roll back up with that. And what I find I was muted. That's super unfortunate. Well, in the Discord anyway. You all could hear me on the stream at the very least. So, yeah, I mean, it was a bit of a rough start. And I think it's really cool that Born in Mongolia have won 3 out of the 4 pistol rounds.
Yeah, it shows they've got that prevalence. Sort of a shot from Miami, though. 9-10 going to be put right back in his place. Only good for that first kill, and that's about it. Aztec with a Mac 10 at close range. Should be able to farm some kills, farm some cash as well. And he does it oh so well. The A side completely barren now, but never say never. Another round in which, unfortunately, just firepower makes all the difference. They probably going to lose this one in, well, I was going to say comfortable fashion, but Miami does at least make it a second kill for him. Like a little collected consolation. They're making it expensive at the very least.
He lost a lot of life trying to hold on to that Galil
Yeah.
as well. Oh, they get themselves a second as well. So, but look at this wraparound. Oh, they could actually find themselves in serious danger. Yeah, Azteca is going for it as well. Oh my god. There we go. That's one Galil completely denied. Zaristo is going to try and hold on to the one other. And still, Born in Mongolia just don't want to allow them to hold on to it. But yes, that is going to be another round for them. And again, I mean, this is somewhat to be expected. They came into this with far superior weaponry. They did, obviously, I mean, they did well in the previous round. They won that out, so they had a ton of cash available to them. They're going to be holding on to 3 of their weapons here. One of those being the AK, of course, so a lot of firepower there going into the next round. Thankfully for Never Say Never, as we've mentioned, Aristo did, in fact, manage to hold on to that Galil. So, and of course, they net themselves a nice chunk of cash here because they've lost 2 rounds in a row. So at least they'll be able to come into this round with something to back them up. It's not going to be perfect, but it should be workable. And I think right now that's kind of the main goal. You want to have something to respond to Born in Mongolia. I mean, they're so easily taking control of the space. But one of the big things to note is that utility is always important, but it's even more so on a CT side, on a map like Inferno, where locking down those isolations is so important. So now where they have a little bit more utility to play with, this could be where they start bringing it back in their favor.
Oh, 1 kill for Risk. Not able to take up the second. In comes the support of G7H, but he's only put down at 1. Numbers favouring the T side, and so is that side. A side completely barren him. What was essentially a bonus round here is looking like it should be one to be converted. As 2 remain alive, and Never Say Never, and the double Galil setup has got a lot to do, and with slightly limited amount of utility over towards the T side, it does give them some room to work with. Azteca make it a 1, make that 2. What a round indeed it is. 3 remain alive, 11 collected, a 4-round lead, and I think we're knocking on the door of map number 3 here, potentially.
I was about to talk about how I'm a little bit disappointed with the lack of utility, because I was literally just talking about being able to use that and then stopping Born in Mongolia from having those aggressive plays. But it was literally, as Never Say Never get to site and get themselves in position, Born in Mongolia are already pushing. They're already pushing up through bracket towards the A site. There was no time to really think about that because they weren't expecting that hyper-aggressive play. So unfortunately, Never Say Never, yes, they concede yet another round. Born in Mongolia heavily into the double digits, and Never Say Never only have pistols into this round. Okay, it's a bunch of deagles. There's a lot of firepower behind that, but it's not... Okay, never mind.
All right.
Ignore me.
Okay, Risk. Okay, Risk put down at 1, no. Miami causing problems.
I
Makes
get
it 3K. All right, I think we were a little bit too quick to count out Never Say Never until round number 19, because these pistols are causing problems. Miami looking to try and make it 4. We'll be able to do so, and, well, it's G7H to deny, but 3 kills for Miami, and rightfully so going to reward themselves with 3 AK-47s. What an 8th round for Never Say Never. That has completely changed momentum now.
Honestly, I can almost guarantee that at some point before this season is over, I'm going to break into song with Never Say Never. It's going to happen. Because every time they pull off a round like that, you know, the song just like beats in my head because I really am thinking... Arista?
Yeah, just you really do.
Oh, oopsie. That's okay. You know what? They're doing reasonably well. They don't need to come into this with full HP, right? Right?
You don't need it. I mean, maybe you do, actually. Never mind. I take back my statement. Miami's going to fall, and... Well, a knife is not really the best of ways to start things out. Numbers advantage goes towards Born in Mongolia, but they're still unable to get that top B control. At least Aristo will know that they want to still carry on going forward, still try and get that control in their favor. But Risk, with smoke in his face, going to be all too aware that now they can split on towards B, and I think that's what they're going to try and do.
I don't know. I don't know if split's the word. It's just a massacre at this point. But Bomb is going to retreat, as there has been quite a massacre over towards B. And, well, A is completely free and clear at this point, with Ruben being the last player left alive. So, yeah, good call. Bomb's gonna go down. Ruben, does he survive? Should do.
Causing problems over towards Imagine. But I think at range, I was going to say Flame should be able to clean this one up. Back on a second, maybe not. Spray through the smoke. Not going to convert. This Imagine's come out on top. 12th round. Born in Mongolia. The 4 lead collected once again. Of course, 4 away from pushing this to map number 3. Vertigo, of course, is where we will go if we go to the decider. Never say never. They need a real strong resurgence. And so far, it's not really been the greatest of starts on CT.
Yeah. To be fair, they had a bit of a rough start on their T side as well. It took a little while for them to kind of feel the groove a little bit, but as the scoreline continues to increase the gap, you really want to be coming out on top here. And there you go. That's another round there. Born in Mongolia just absolutely decimate. Give themselves a 2-player advantage. Be sight completely free and clear. Never say never with only 3 players left alive. I mean, they're just safe at this point.
They have to. I mean, you can't make a 5v3 retake work, especially with the kind of wealth of utility that Born in Mongolia have got to work with. Bomb's going to go down. I'm going to say post-one to set up, but it doesn't even need to be. No one's even contesting that B site anymore, and especially with the initial 2 kills going the way of Born in Mongolia. That's the round. That's the 13 to be collected. A 5-round lead. This is becoming a very uncomfortable situation now for Never Say Never, where they're yet to find kind of any sort of forming towards their CT side. You mentioned they're being slow starting, and that was kind of what we saw from the opening map, and it was a very good resurgence, but we're still yet to see the resurgence. And when does the question of, is it too little too late, start to come into our minds?
Probably at the end of this round, right?
Yeah.
I mean, things are looking really, really rough here for Never Say Never, unfortunately. They're not even going to be allowed to save. Oh, no.
Oh, no,
Risk does manage to hold on to one at least, but
yeah,
the hunt was on for Born in Mongolia at that point. I mean, that was such a quick round for them to come out on top of. Okay, we know that was a bit of a force from Never Say Never. They didn't really have the weaponry available to make it work, but literally like 1 round prior, we saw them absolutely destroy on a Deagle round. So it's a little hit or miss for these squads sometimes. And I think that inconsistency can become a huge problem. This is just day 1. There is a bit of time to iron that out as the season continues. Of course, they're playing 2 games per week. So you have quite a bit of time in between as well to do some prep work, to change up where necessary. But for right now, you know, it feels like both of these teams really having a lot of reliance on some of those hero plays. I mean, look at Azteca. 22 kills. Okay, bearing in mind, Imagine 9, 10, and Flame are doing really well as well, all of them sitting on 15, and particularly Imagine has stepped up on this map we spoke about on Dust 2, where he was very, very quiet. But
sure.
To have one player that you're really relying on to step up, it can become detrimental.
Oh, of course, now, we Never Say Never, unfortunately, just that 1 rifle. Saved across by Risk, as we mentioned prior, but that's all they've got to bring into the fray. They still got the Deagles. I mean, what Miami can do with a Deagle in his hands. I'm not going to count them out just yet. I've learned my lesson. But it's still a very kind of improbable situation where things aren't looking too good for Never Say Never. But once again, who would have thought the Deagle's coming alive? Ruben finds 1 but only. Vayne in for the trade. Man of Art is still in favour of the CT side, but the control is starting to become sporadic. And with Flames fighting G7H, they got quite a few pathways in towards that A site. And only 1 man to deny. Aristo. A little bit of a quiet game for him. He's got a lot to do. And the Spam Duke holds air box. Won't be able to find anything. Risk at range. Finding 1 more of his own. Bring the numbers level, but it's Flames M41S to deny anymore. Miami all alone now. M41S in a 1 versus 2. And a smoke going to come in his face momentarily, or so I say. Doesn't even consider close range. Yes, he does. And he comes out on top. Imagine all 4. It's a 1 versus 1 against Flame. Will he spot him out? It does not matter. Flame going to be the first to deny, and that's 14. 2 rounds away from the You'll Lose to 16 and pushing this towards Vertigo. It's looking very likely now.
What makes me really sad is how close so many of these rounds have been, right? Very seldom do we see a solid, cut and dry, this team won this round. You know, I'm not even sure we've seen that many flawless rounds. Okay, there've been a few rounds where teams have been forced to save, particularly Born in Mongolia on Dust 2. They had like 3 save rounds in a row kind of thing. But these have been very, very close. And it's, you know, a little unfortunate to see that they're struggling so much when we know that Never Say Never can bring the fight to them. Case in point, Imagine loses 96 HP in a Molotov, and at the same time, Azteca on the other side of the map just about gets taken down. This is a map that Never Say Never can turn around.
They can, but will they? 2 remaining for Born in Mongolia. Bomb to be planted as well. Risk trying to deny. With the low HP of Imagine, a wealth of opportunities for Never Say Never, but it still has to be converted. And of course, Imagine picking up the AWP, as we expect. Bottom of Bogdan's Law as... Well, it needs to convert. That shot from him, leaving it all down to 1. It's Risk with an AWP in his hands. The big green has to try and deny. Tap through the smoke as well, down to 60. And he's going to make the save call. Doesn't even want to contest this in a 1 versus 2. Gives up the side, gives up the round, and gives up a really good opportunity when you consider how well things were looking for Never Say Never with the numbers advantage, the utility as well, and how bad things were looking for Flames and Imagine on slim amounts of HP. Well, what a round for them to lose. And for Born in Mongolia, that's 15. Yes, Imagine falls to the bomb, but it's not the end of the world. The AWP will be collected. 15-8. 1 away.
Look at the cash.
Yeah.
It's usually Born in Mongolia that find themselves on this point, where you're at the last round in the half or the last round of the series. They forced up in the round before, and now they're forced down onto a bit of a rough buy. At least Never Say Never are able to keep this competitive in this round, but again, it's not perfect. It's not ideal. They would have wanted so much more coming into this, because it is match point, and Born in Mongolia looking to, I don't know, sail this one home and take us to map 3.
Best of starts though. Veneration and Miami combine to deny that top B presence, and with Risk adding to the tally, at least Flame all alone in a 1 versus 4. Yes, Miami's taking damage, but the other 3 looking all the healthier, completely unscathed, and potentially this could be the start of something new in favor of Never Say Never. Well, with 4 remaining alive, exactly where they want to be. 9 rounds collected, possibly a catalyst to success looking forward. We'll have to wait and see.
It was a round that Never Say Never obviously needed to win, and they come through quite nicely for themselves. That aggression at the top of Banana, they actually use quite a bit of that util to great effect. They meet that aggression head on and manage to win out those trades. It's very, very important to give themselves that advantage. And now, of course, it's Born in Mongolia who forced down onto some seriously wonky stuff here. There's a Tech 9 in the mix, and everybody's just taking a chunk of damage from an HE. So this could be Never Say Never starting to mount that comeback.
Again, another opener going their way. Miami looking to make it 2 as well, but this time won't be as good. Vayne, Flames combine as the bomb's going to be planted over towards that B site. Spawn not quite set it just yet. The AWP's causing problems of Risk. Finding a double look to get 3. Will he expect the elevated angle? He won't. That's attack a trade. But he himself dropped by G78, even all down to 1 man. Flames spots the flank and damage delta towards Ruben. But the question is, can he be able to stay alive? And that's not the answer. But a Molotov could be enough. I spoke on towards the bomb. And our Ninja defuse could be what he's looking for. But no, he falls off in at the right time. Really well played from G78. Genius. He knew he had time to work with, so he's just going to pull off. Play for the more passive position. Guarantees the kill and guarantees the round. 10 rounds collected. But Never Say Never. Double digits on the board. And already sort of started to look a little bit better.
But you talk about the passive play, and that's really what Never Say Never did here. Instead of trying to meet that aggression like they did 2 rounds back, instead they play a little bit further back, and they get a little bit overrun. And again, it's that balance that I was talking about. It was one of the issues that I spotted for Born in Mongolia's CT side, and Never Say Never are having similar issues here, where they can't find the balance between the passive play and the aggressive, proactive play. Now, thankfully, we see G7H take a very interesting kind of side angle there once that smoke comes down. They're not expecting him to be there, so he's able to clutch out that round for his team. And again, you know, we got 5 rounds of match point to go just to take us into OT, and that is a bad start for Never Say Never. Every time I kind of favor a team just based on what util and weaponry they have coming into a round, they prove me wrong every time.
They're hearing you, Sam. They want to make the caster's curse all the more of a prevalent talking point. But in Mongolia, with a man advantage, looking for that A pop. G7H holding from below, nearly falling away at the wrong time. Getting flying through the air, man on his head, but it doesn't matter. It's a 1-for-1, but Ruben in towards Pit, denying all the control, and 3 remaining alive. That's 11 for Never Say Never. These flew out of apps. Not really going to work with the lacking amount of firepower and utility as well, so 3v kills going forward.
Okay, so this time I didn't get proved utterly wrong. They do lose 2 players in the engagement, but not the end of the world as they do secure themselves the round, and that went as expected. But again, Born in Mongolia's economy is still very, very messy. You know, they had very little going into that round, but they had the hero rifle. Now the hero rifler has Stekers down on a Tech 9.
Not a bad shot, though. Rich going to
go.
kickstart things brilliantly. Imagine Falling's an important one. A Tech 9 and 3 AK-47 still alive. Nate's going to come forward. Only Vayne taking a little bit of damage, but it is only a little bit. Down to 90, but it makes those M4 and SSO all the more problematic. And the tempo slowed right down for Born in Mongolia. It's been a pretty tough period these last few rounds for them.
Much slower pace here from Born in Mongolia, but looks like now the engage is going to come in, and that's a nice little way to even out the numbers.
Swinging in Miami, 1-for-1, but Risk coming in for support as well. Ruben gonna drop a flash to try and deny, but from above, 9-10 brings the numbers level. As the bomb's planted, they're gonna double stack over towards Coffins as well. The rotation coming in, but it's got a long journey to get over towards this B site. And that's where we see the T side going aggressive. Azteca playing anti-flash, which actually could work in his favor as in comes the smoke. Gonna swing in front of it, try and catch off the first, which he does brilliantly. And spotting out Risk, he's giving away his position, giving away the ruse, but in comes the utility. Pop Flash will come forward, Risk will avoid it, tapping the bars, and Molotov drops at his feet, and Risk now left in a really tough position. Good for one, but the Molotov might spread and deny. PT50 pulled out, but it does not matter. Azteca denies, and we're going to map number 3.